The two most common goldfinch species in North America are the American goldfinch and the lesser goldfinch. But can you tell these two birds apart? They give a lot of birders a lot of issues in trying to distinguish between the two. Let's dive in. First, we're going to start with the breeding American goldfinch. We have the males on comparison here on screen together. And breeding season for American goldfinches is during March through October. So, American goldfinch is a pretty easy bird to pick out. It's bright yellow overall on its body. It's got a light colored bill, kind of orangish looking. It also has a black cap on its forehead. It's got black wings, and it's got really crisp white wing bars as well. It also has a longer bill than the lesser goldfinch, and underneath its tail is white, which these are distinguishing features that I'm calling out here, so make sure you pay attention. Now, the lesser goldfinch actually has a few subspecies, but we'll get into that in just a second. The male lesser goldfinches have an entire black cap on their head. They're less yellow than the breeding male American goldfinches. Their yellow is a little more greenish and a little less vibrant. They have dark wings as well, but their wing bars are a lot more messy than the male goldfinches. And then on their undertail, they have yellow instead of that white color that the American goldfinch has. Now, the male lesser goldfinch that I just described was the western subspecies. Now let's get into the Texas subspecies. It looks very similar to the male, except it has a black cap that goes all the way down its back into a cape. I also do want to mention with both of these, they both have dark beaks compared to the male American goldfinch that has that lighter colored beak as well. So that's another important distinguishing factor between the two species. All right, now let's get into the female of both species and compare these two real quick. So the American goldfinch, starting with again, the female has a lighter beak. So if you see a light beak on a goldfinch, it is always going to be American unless there's something weird going on. Again, the female has a white undertail. The American goldfinches actually have light legs, while the lesser goldfinches have dark legs. So that's another thing you want to look for between the two. And again, the females both species have those dark wings, but the American goldfinch and the females included in this have those clean white wing bars. It's not as messy as a lesser goldfinch. All right, let's get into the female lesser goldfinch. It basically looks the same as the male, except it does not have that black cap or cape on its back at all. Again, it's a more greenish color compared to the American goldfinch. They have the messy white wing bars, the dark legs, the stout kind of smashed bill compared to the American goldfinch, and the yellow undertail is another important factor in this. Now let me transition something real quick. This is a non-breeding adult American goldfinch, and this is where I think most people confuse the two species altogether. This is October through March to counter that breeding season. Of course, there's a little bit of blending into maybe October and blending a little bit into March on both sides, but it's important to, if you're in the midst of their non-breeding season or their breeding season, to recognize the difference here. These goldfinches have a drab gray overall coloration on their bodies. Now, the males and the females still are sexually dimorphic, meaning that they're different, but the male American goldfinch has a little more yellow on the face than the female does. I'm just gonna show a picture. They look very similar. Now, the reason that it's hard to tell these American goldfinches apart during non-breeding season is they actually sport a gray bill, which is one of the distinguishing features to be able to tell these two species apart. So don't be tricked by the non-breeding American goldfinch and saying, oh, it's got a dark bill, therefore it's gotta be a lesser. It could be a non-breeding American goldfinch. These non-breeding American goldfinches have a dark brown back, and they still have those dark wings, but again, this is the most important factor, these two identification points. The American goldfinch has those clean white wing bars compared to the messy white wing bars of the lesser goldfinch, and underneath the tail is white. It is not going to be yellow like the lesser goldfinch, so if you can catch a glimpse of that, it's going to be white. Now, sometimes you're going to catch these birds flying over, and if you can't recognize the flight calls or the calls in general, it is important to recognize the distinguishing features. It's actually pretty easy. American goldfinches are going to have white armpits. So underneath the wings, when the wings go up, it's going to have a white armpit. Lesser goldfinches are going to have a dark armpit in flight when the wing is up, so pay attention to that as well. American goldfinches are going to have white near the base of the tail on the top, while lesser goldfinches are going to have a darker coloration near the base of the tail. Now, if you see white patches on their wings in flight, on the wings and on the tail, that is actually a lesser goldfinch. So remember, white patches near the outside of the wings or on the tail, lesser goldfinch. White armpits underneath, American goldfinch. One more important factor to identifying which bird is which is their range. American goldfinches cover the entirety of the United States. They bleed a little bit into northern Mexico, and they get up into southern Canada. But a lesser goldfinch's range is much more restricted. Lesser goldfinches are almost only found primarily in the Southwest. They don't go as far north as American goldfinches. In fact, they stop in Oregon and southern Idaho, and they don't go east hardly at all. They go into Colorado and they barely bleed north into Wyoming at all. They do, however, cover the entirety of Mexico, and they actually go into the northern reaches of South America. So again, if you're in the Southwest, this is an issue for you. Where I'm at in Utah and the West in general, this is an issue for me. I have to be able to distinguish these two species. If you're out east, you shouldn't really have to worry about seeing a lesser goldfinch out there, just based off of your range, so keep that in mind. Let me know in the comments below what two birds or group of birds is a difficult ID for you. Remember to check out my main channel, Bright Eyed Birding. I go on birding adventures 2 times a week, and I take you with me. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you all next time on Bright Eyed Birding Learn.